We went from 0 to $1 million in sales. Kinda sound like Austin Powers there for $1 million. I went from 0 to $1 million in sales in a month, okay? So we were doing $1 million in sales in a month, within our first 2 and a half, almost 3 years. I know it was June 30th of 2012. Yes, June 30th of 2012, we hit $1 million in sales. But we were not paid because it was $1 million that got you to the top rank in the company. We did not hit that or qualify for that top rank, even though we had the volume. And it's because we had a leg that had taken off and was producing a lot of volume. And some of that volume we could not count towards the million. We actually had to end up getting it close to 1.2 million overall before we actually qualified. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Freedom Factory. This is podcast number 21. I got some great feedback from you guys from last week, and I love hearing from you guys. So, as you're getting these little lessons that we're dropping on a weekly basis, send me some messages, send me some stuff out, DM me, copy and paste. Oh God, tag me in your stuff. I love seeing that, love sharing it back out, and it lets me know that I'm doing some good over here. So, anyway, we're going to be talking today about balancing your organization, the legs, and making sure that you are maximizing your compensation plan. So, I don't know, for some of you right now, this may not be timely information. It might not be something that's a problem right now, but at some point, for most professional network marketers, this becomes a conversation. Whether you're in a binary, force matrix, a unilevel, whatever it is, at some point, one of your organizational leaders will usually kind of pop out. Like, it just, their group starts to grow like crazy, runaway momentum, and all of a sudden what used to be a balanced leg is now unbalanced. And what that typically means is you're losing out on potential commission that you could be earning based on the overall volume of your organization. But because a large amount of the volume is coming out of one leg or one organization, you're not qualified to take all of that volume and count it towards your rank advancement totals. And so it's why it's important that we have this conversation. You may want to save this one for later and come back to it if you get an organization that takes off, or maybe you know someone that is in that position and might need to hear this now. So I'm going to tell you that this information I'm giving you comes from experience. Like all of the podcasts that I've given you, it comes from experience. And so we launched into network marketing, as you guys may know the story, with no teams, no experience, never doing this before. And everything was a learning experience. And so we were fortunate enough to get that early out of the gate momentum. And we were fortunate enough to be a part of a company who got past those first couple years where most companies don't make it. We got past that. And not only did we get past it, we exploded. The company went from $12 million in its first year of business, which is really kind of half a year, calendar year, to its second year, 40 million in business. Its third year, over 120 million in business, and the following year 200 million. So in the first 4 years, it was a rocket ship of momentum and sales. And during that period of time, there was a lot of people that were experiencing lots of volume in the organization, but not necessarily experiencing full compensation. And so I happen to be one of those. So we went from zero to $1 million in sales. Kind of sound like Austin Powers there for $1 million. I went from zero to $1 million in sales in a month. Okay. So we were doing $1 million in sales in a month within our first 2.5, almost 3 years. I know it was June 30th of 2012. Yes, June 30th of 2012, we hit $1 million in sales. But we were not paid because it was $1 million that got you to the top rank in the company. We did not hit that or qualify for that top rank, even though we had the volume. And it's because we had a leg that had taken off and was producing a lot of volume. And some of that volume we could not count towards the million. We actually had to end up getting it close to 1.2 million overall before we actually qualified. And so we went for a long time. We went for a long time. In fact, I'll tell you the numbers. All right. You may want to jot this down because what I'm about to tell you is a big, big 6-figure lesson I learned. So we were missing out on about a $20,000 per month upgrade in pay because we were not hitting the top rank. And we missed that for a little over 18 months. So just call it 18 months times 20,000. It's $360,000 that we missed out on in compensation because we were not balanced. Now, there were some moments along the way through the comp plan that we were not balanced. When I say moments, it was like 1 month, maybe two. And so this was the first time that we were out of balance and it took so long to get the balance back. So when you're out of balance for a month, it's not the end of the world. When you're out of balance for a year or almost 2 years, and you're talking about that kind of compensation, it's painful. And so here's the lesson for you guys is always know the first lesson is always know your numbers. Okay. Meaning, as you go through the comp plan, in many comp plans, the percentages that you can take out of any one leg changes. And it usually decreases as the ranks get bigger. And so just know that you may be able to take 60% out of your largest leg at the rank you're currently at, but that's usually not the case forever. Usually there are ranks that are still ahead of you that are going to require that you have more volume from outside organizations, which is basically saying they're only going to allow you to count a certain amount of volume out of that leg. And it's usually less than it was at the smaller ranks. And so know your numbers, know your projections, know your percentages of your organization in each leg. So if you're doing 100,000 a month in sales, that's a pretty easy number for you to do your percentages. If you organization requires 2 legs, 3 legs, 4 legs, 5 legs, whatever it is, make sure every month you know how much each one of your legs did in an overall percentage of your volume, and then reference over to your comp plan. It's printed out somewhere for you. And just make sure you know that you're good, not only for the next rank, but I would say start planning 2 or 3 ranks down the road. Okay. First big tip for this podcast for you guys. Don't just plan for the next rank or your current rank to make sure you have the right percentages in each leg. Start planning for 2 or 3 ranks ahead. Set your goals according to those numbers. So if they let you take 60% out of your current rank, out of any one leg, if you guys are watching this live in the videos that we do on YouTube, that you can get this, you'll see the lights are just going crazy right now. I don't know what the deal is with that light over there. Um, anyway, back to the topic. Make sure you're planning for 2 or 3 ranks ahead, guys. Know those percentages, set your goals on those percentages. And some of you might be saying, "Oh gosh, like I'm not a numbers person, Brandon. I just can't do this." Well, the word can't should be removed from your vocabulary, right? You guys should remove the word can't. In fact, you should like create a little jar in your house. And every time you say the word can't and someone hears you say it, you should put some money in there. Put $5, put $10, put $20. And sooner or later, make it big enough. Maybe if it's $20 and you're saying can't all the time and your family hears it, pretty soon that's going to hurt. And you're going to start really, really making sure you're going to stop saying the word can't. Just replace the word can't with show me how. We've taught this to our kids all the time. I can't do this. No, 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 no. Let me show you how. Okay. So you can do numbers. Stop saying you can't, because if you say you can't, then you can't, right? The old Henry Ford, right? If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So figure it out. Ask someone how. Ask someone to show you how to do the numbers. This is important. You guys, I am a numbers person and I still missed out on $360,000. Okay. This podcast, I'm hoping, might save some of you just a few thousand. But if I'd have heard a podcast like this before I got into the trouble of being out of balance, it would have saved me a lot of money. Right. So know your numbers. Secondly, never, ever, ever ignore your big organization, the big leg, the leg that some people may think is causing the problem. It's not a problem, right? There are no problems, only decisions. You guys know this. There are no problems in this world, only decisions you have to make. And so never ignore the big leg. Never stop completely working in the big leg, because for one, it's where all the momentum is and the fun is, right? Like those smaller organizations is where there's less momentum and less energy. And it's really about energy. The bigger leg has more energy. So there's more people excited about their checks. There's more rank advancing going on. So it's kind of self-propelling itself a little bit. And truthfully, that big leg can sometimes charge your batteries. It can make you feel good because you're seeing more enrollments. You're hearing of more product testimonies or more testimonies around the service that you sell, the product that you sell that's helping those people. And that charges your battery, right? If you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in this one leg, and you've only got 10 or 20 in this other leg, the chances of the bigger leg having rank advancements, great product or service testimonies is higher. And you want to be around that. You want to be a part of that because it can really, really fuel you and it can fuel your other organizations, right? Believe me, it is much easier to create momentum as a complete organization than ignoring your big leg and just going and working with the smaller organizations and the smaller legs, because that is much harder on you emotionally than working on your whole organization together. Never, ever, ever ignore your big leg. Don't do that. I've seen this many, many times where people are like, well, no, I can't go do any meetings over there. That's my big leg. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't do meetings over there. And I've even had some tell me, no, I'm trying to get my smaller legs going, so I haven't been out to do any Zooms or meetings in a few weeks. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're not doing any meetings, you're not doing any Zooms in any of your legs just because the bigger leg is a problem for you right now. Like it's more volume than you can count. Like, why would you not be doing meetings in that leg? Keep that momentum going, keep that organization flying, because it's not a problem. That's a blessing. Having a big organization, having a runaway leg is a blessing. It's something to be excited about, proud of, and something to be, you got to protect that. Okay. Don't ignore it, protect it, love on it. All right. Now, third point, you are going to have to, though, block out some time for the smaller leg. And what that simply means is you can't just go into your office and just start working blindly without purposefully and intentionally blocking out some time for your smaller legs to make sure that your larger leg doesn't just consume all of your time, because it will and it can, because it's where all of the requests are coming. Hey, can you come do this training for us? Can you come do this meeting for us? Hey, can you take a call and let's do a planning call? And you got, if you're not intentional with your time, if you're not purposeful with your time, you can easily have your whole day or whole week consumed by that big leg that's in momentum. You're going to have to block out time for those smaller legs to make sure on a daily, weekly basis, whatever that is, that you are giving those smaller organizations every bit of you that you can for them without the detriment of obviously your whole organization. Again, you're never going to ignore the big organization, but you do need to block out some time for those smaller organizations. And the smaller organizations are not going to keep you as busy. So that's why you just maybe block out 30 minutes a day for the smaller organizations. And then eventually it's an hour a day. And that's a good sign, right? If 30 minutes is not enough time a day for your smaller organizations, it means it's growing. And then eventually it may get to an hour a day, and that might not be enough time. That's a good sign, right? Just keep increasing the size of the block of time that you're making as need be. But maybe that's a goal. Like, hey, I would like to be able to be busy for a full hour in my smaller legs each day. Okay, maybe next week or next month, I'd like to be busy for 2 hours a day in my smaller organizations. It's a great goal, right? Something that you can look back in your planners. Because guys, remember, if you're not measuring, you can't manage what you don't measure. You guys should be able to go back and look at your paper planners or your calendars and look at the time you blocked out. And if you didn't block it out, it's probably not going to happen because you're not living intentionally. You're not living purposefully. You're just letting the days come and go. And that is not what successful network marketers do, any way, shape, or form. All right. Lastly, you can run incentives in those smaller organizations. Now, this one can be real touchy, real touchy, because you don't want your larger organizations to feel like you're leaving them out. So what you do is you work with the leaders of the organizations and allow the incentives to come from them. Instead of the incentive coming from you, you go to the top leader in any one of these smaller organizations or all of them, depending on what your budget is and your strategy. And you say, hey, I would like to be able to, give you some resources, whatever that looks like. It could be your time. It could be some product, some services that you guys sell. It could be your cash. It could be your money that you can put up and offer as an incentive. But you go to the leader of that organization so that the messaging comes from them. The announcements come from them, not from you. Because if it comes from you, then it's going to look like you are ignoring your other organization. Your other organization, let's say it's, first person that puts in the first $5,000 in orders this month. Well, if that comes from you, then your bigger organization is going to want to know why they didn't qualify for that. But if it comes from the leader in the organization, the leader of the smaller organization, no one in your larger organization is going to go to that leader and say, hey, I'm left out, because they will know that's not their organization. They will know that's a separate organization. So I do this quite often, actually. And I learned by experience. I learned in the past that if you put incentives out, that usually there are some people that will find out about those incentives and they'll feel like you left them out purposefully. And so just let it come from the leaders. And it's also a great learning exercise for those leaders in those organizations. So they are going to have to do the same thing down the road. And so all you're doing is setting a pattern for them. You're setting out an example, a duplicatable example or pattern even in leadership. We talk about duplication all the time in this business. And so this is another way that you can show them proper duplication is how to incentivize organizations, smaller organizations, where they run a little harder without including the whole organization. And as your organizations get bigger and global, this happens really very frequently because different countries will have different products and different things happening at different times of the year. And so for years and years in my organizations, we've had promotions going that don't run globally. They run regionally or within countries. And so these four things, guys, I hope help you in balancing out your organizations. And I hope that you can learn from my loss in revenue so that you don't lose any revenue. Go out, know your numbers. First of all, know the numbers. And if you're not a numbers person, figure it out. Just ask for help until you got it down. Secondly, don't ignore the big leg because that's where the momentum's at, it's where the fun is at, and the energy's at. Don't kill the energy just because you're trying to balance out your organization. Block out time for your smaller legs. Don't just show up and work. Be purposeful and intentional. And then incentivize your smaller organizations through the leaders of those organizations. So I know this stuff will be beneficial. It's what I still do today to make my organizations balance out. And so I hope you enjoy this. And like I said, you may not be in the issue now, but you will be at some point, and you'll be very thankful for this podcast. So, if not, maybe you know someone that is in the situation, share it. And I'd love to hear the feedback. Mention me in your Instagram stories and give us some 5-star ratings because we are on a mission, guys, to move families forward through the beauty of network marketing and then financial education. So, you guys have a great week. We'll see you guys next Monday. Bye bye.